Hey there, story lovers. Before we dive into this super cool tale, I've got a fun question for you. Have you ever had someone try to boss you around on your own stuff, like your room or your yard? Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from today. Oh, and if you love stories that keep you guessing, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any surprises. All right, let's jump in. Imagine a cozy little place called Sunny Meadows. It's the kind of neighborhood where the grass is always green, the houses look like they belong in a picture book, and every mailbox is painted just right. Kids ride bikes down the street, dogs bark at squirrels, and flowers bloom in every front yard. It sounds perfect, doesn't it? But here's the thing, Sunny Meadows had a group called the Homeowners Association, or HOA for short. And let me tell you that HOA was like the bossiest kid on the playground. They made rules about everything: how tall your grass could grow, what color your curtains should be, even how many flowers you could plant. Yup, they were that picky. Right in the middle of Sunny Meadows lived a man named Sam Carter. Now, Sam wasn't the kind of guy who made a big fuss. He wasn't loud or showy like some people who blast music or throw wild parties. Nope, Sam was quiet. He liked to keep things simple. Every morning, he'd grab his lawnmower and trim his grass nice and neat. He paid his bills on time, never left trash cans out too long, and always waved at his neighbors with a friendly smile. If you saw Sam, you'd think, hey, that's just a regular guy. But here's the big secret nobody in Sunny Meadows knew. Sam had something up his sleeve, a plan so clever it would make everyone's jaw drop. Sam's house wasn't like the others in the neighborhood. Sure, it looked normal from the front: white walls, blue shutters, a little porch with a rocking chair. But behind the house, that's where things got special. Sam had a huge backyard, way bigger than anyone else's. It wasn't just a patch of grass either. Oh no, it was like a little world of its own. There was a sparkly pond where fish swam in circles, their scales flashing like tiny rainbows. There was a garden bursting with flowers: red roses, yellow daisies, purple tulips, you name it. Sam loved his garden. He'd spend hours out there, digging in the dirt, watering his plants, and talking to them like they were old friends. To Sam, that backyard wasn't just land. It was his happy place, his hideout from the noisy world. Every day after work, Sam would kick off his shoes, grab a cold drink, and sit by his pond. He'd watch the water ripple and listen to the birds chirp. It made him feel calm, like nothing could go wrong. That backyard was his treasure, worth more to him than $1,000,000. He'd worked hard to buy his house, saved up every penny, and made that land his own. It was his, fair and square. But not everyone in Sunny Meadows thought so. Nope, there was one person who looked at Sam's big, beautiful backyard and didn't see a treasure. She saw a prize she wanted to grab for herself. That person was Karen Billings, the president of the HOA. Now let me paint you a picture of Karen. She was tall and always wore shiny high heels that clicked when she walked, like a clock ticking down to trouble. Her hair was piled high, sprayed so stiff it wouldn't move in a storm. She carried a clipboard everywhere like it was glued to her hand, and she'd scribble notes about anything she didn't like: a fence that was too short, a mailbox that was too bright. You get the idea. Karen loved being in charge. She'd strut around sunny meadows like she owned the whole place, telling people what to do with a smile that wasn't really a smile. It was more like a smirk, the kind that made your stomach feel funny. Karen wasn't mean to everyone, but she had a way of picking on certain people. And for some reason, she had her eyes locked on Sam Carter. Maybe it was because Sam didn't bow down to her like some neighbors did. Maybe it was because he kept to himself and didn't go to HOA meetings to clap for her silly rules. Or maybe, and this is the big one, it was because of his backyard. See, Karen didn't think Sam should have all that land to himself. She thought it was too much for one person. In her mind, a backyard that big was like a toy nobody was sharing. And Karen, she loved making people share. It all started to bubble up one summer day. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and Sam was out in his garden humming a tune as he pulled weeds. His hands were dirty, his shirt was sweaty, but he was happy. The flowers smelled sweet, and a breeze made the pond water dance. Everything felt right. That is, until Sam heard that sound, click, click, click. He looked up, and there was Karen, standing at the edge of his yard, her clipboard tucked under her arm. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't frowning either. She had that smirk, the one that said, "I'm about to make your day a whole lot worse." Hi, Samuel, Karen said, dragging out his name like it was a piece of gum she was chewing. "Nice yard you've got here." Sam stood up, brushing dirt off his hands. "Thanks," he said, keeping his voice steady. He wasn't sure what Karen wanted, but he had a feeling it wasn't good. Karen tilted her head, looking around like she was inspecting a store. "It's awfully big, isn't it? All this space for just one person. Don't you think it's a bit selfish?" Sam's eyebrows went up. Selfish? His yard? He'd never heard anything so wild. "It's my home," he said simply. "I like it this way." Karen's smirk got bigger, like a cat who'd just spotted a mouse. "Oh, I'm sure you do, but the HOA has been talking, Samuel. We think this land could be useful for everyone. A park maybe, or a place for neighbors to walk. It's not fair to keep it all to yourself." Sam felt his chest tighten like someone had squeezed it. His land, a park for everyone. He pictured strangers trampling his flowers, tossing trash in his pond, ruining the quiet he loved. "It's mine," he said, a little louder this time. "I bought it. It's not for sharing." Karen didn't blink. She just tapped her clipboard with a pen. Tap, tap, tap. "We'll see about that," she said, then turned and clicked away, leaving Sam standing there, his heart thumping hard. That night, Sam couldn't sleep. He sat in his kitchen, staring out at his backyard. The moon made the pond glow, and the flowers looked like shadows swaying in the breeze. He thought about what Karen said, selfish, park, not fair. It made his blood feel hot. This wasn't just about dirt or grass. It was about his home, his safe spot, the one place where he could be himself. He'd worked years for it, given up vacations and fancy things to afford it. And now Karen wanted to take it away, just because she could. Sam wasn't loud or angry like some folks might be. He didn't want to yell or fight in front of everyone, but he wasn't a pushover either. Deep down, Sam had a spark, a quiet kind of strength that nobody in Sunny Meadows had seen yet. Karen thought he was just a guy who cut his grass and stayed out of trouble. She thought she could boss him around, make him do what she wanted. But Sam wasn't that simple. He had ideas, plans, and a brain that worked like a puzzle solver. While Karen was busy making her lists, Sam was starting to think up something big, something that would show her and everyone else that his land was his for keeps. The neighbors didn't know it yet, but Sunny Meadows was about to get a shake-up. Karen thought she held all the cards with her clipboard and her rules. But Sam, he was like a secret superhero hiding in plain sight. He wasn't going to let anyone steal his happy place. Not Karen, not the HOA, not anybody. And the way he'd fight back, oh, it was going to be something nobody would forget. See, Sam wasn't just a guy with a garden. Back before he moved to Sunny Meadows, he'd done all kinds of things nobody knew about. He'd worked on big projects like building bridges and fixing roads. He knew how to make stuff happen, how to turn ideas into real things. And right now his brain was buzzing with an idea so wild, so smart, it would make Karen's clipboard look like a toy. What was it? Well, I won't spill the beans just yet. Let's just say Sam was cooking up a plan that would make everyone in Sunny Meadows stop and stare. For now, all you need to know is this. Sam Carter was a quiet man with a big heart and an even bigger backyard. He loved his home, his pond, his flowers. And when someone like Karen came along thinking she could take it all away, Sam didn't get mad. He got ready. The battle for his land was just beginning, and it was going to be a story full of surprises, laughs, and maybe even a little magic. So what do you think? Is Sam going to let Karen win, or does he have something awesome up his sleeve? Stick around, because this tale about to get even wilder. It was a bright sunny Saturday, the kind of day that makes you want to be outside. The sky was blue, the birds were singing, and Sam Carter was in his backyard watering his flowers. He held a green hose, spraying gentle streams of water onto his roses and daisies. The petals sparkled like they were saying thank you. Sam smiled. His garden was his favorite place, a quiet spot where he could relax and forget the world. Everything felt perfect until he heard a sound that made his heart skip a beat. Click, click, click. It was the sound of high heels on his driveway, sharp and quick, like a clock ticking down to trouble. Sam looked up, and there she was. Karen Billings, the president of the Sunny Meadows Homeowners Association, or HOA. Karen wasn't like most neighbors. She didn't wave or chat about the weather. She was tall, with shiny shoes and a stack of papers on a clipboard she carried everywhere. Her hair was piled high, and her lips were always curled into a smile that wasn't really a smile. It was more like a warning, like a cat watching a bird. Today, that smile was aimed right at Sam. "Good morning, Samuel," Karen said, her voice sweet like candy but sharp like a needle. She said his name slow, like she was tasting it. "We need to talk about your property." Sam turned off the hose and wiped his hands on his jeans. His hands were still wet, leaving dark spots on the blue fabric. "What about it?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. But inside, his stomach felt funny, like it was twisting into a knot. Karen didn't just talk. When she showed up, it meant she wanted something, and she usually got it. Karen flipped open her clipboard with a snap like she was opening a treasure chest. She ran a finger down a list, her red nail polish catching the sunlight. "Your land is causing problems," she said, looking around his backyard. "It's too big, too open. The HOA has decided it's practically public property. Neighbors should be able to use it. Walk through it, maybe have picnics by your pond. It's only fair." Sam blinked, his mouth half open. Public property, his land. The words hit him like a splash of cold water. He looked at his garden, his pond, the grass he mowed every week. This wasn't just a yard, it was his yard. He'd bought it with his own money, worked hard to make it nice. "Public property," he said, his voice a little louder. "It's my land, Karen. I bought it. I pay taxes on it." Karen's smile didn't move, not even a tiny bit. It stayed stuck on her face like it was painted there. "Oh, Samuel," she said, shaking her head like he was a kid who didn't understand. "Don't be selfish. The HOA has rules. Those rules say we can control community spaces for the good of everyone. Your land, it's too much for one person. We're just making things fair." She paused, then added, "You'll get a letter soon, an official one." Then she snapped her clipboard shut, turned on her heels, and strutted off, her click, click, click fading down the driveway. Sam stood there, the hose dripping water onto his shoes. He didn't move for a long time. He just stared at his garden, his sanctuary, the place where he felt safe. Now it was under attack, and not with swords or fists, but with words and rules. Karen wanted to take his land, not all of it maybe, but enough to make it not his anymore. She wanted strangers walking on his grass, sitting by his pond, maybe even picking his flowers. The thought made his chest feel tight, like someone was squeezing it. Sam wasn't the only one Karen was talking to. Oh no, she was busy. That same day she went door to door in Sunny Meadows, knocking on houses with her clipboard in hand. She'd smile that fake smile and say things like, "Don't you think Sam's yard is too big? Wouldn't it be nice if we all shared it?" Some neighbors nodded right away, like they'd been waiting for someone to say it. Others weren't so sure, but Karen had a way of making people agree. She'd talk fast, wave her papers, and before long, they'd be on her side. One of those neighbors was Mr. Jenkins, an older man who lived across the street from Sam. Mr. Jenkins was nosy, always peeking out his window to see what everyone was doing. He had a loud voice and a habit of saying whatever popped into his head. When Karen came to his door, he was all ears. "Sam's hogging that land," Mr. Jenkins said, crossing his arms. "It's just grass. Why does he need it all? A park sounds good to me." Karen patted his shoulder, her smile growing. "Oh, exactly, Mr. Jenkins," she said. "You get it." By Monday, the whispers had started. Neighbors talked over fences, in driveways, at the mailbox. "Did you hear about Sam's yard?" they'd say. "Karen says it's not really his. She says we can all use it." Some people thought it was a great idea. They pictured picnics, kids playing, maybe even a swing set. Others weren't so sure, but they didn't speak up. Karen was in charge after all. Who wanted to argue with her? Sam heard the whispers, even though he didn't want to. He'd be out mowing his lawn and he'd catch people looking at him, their eyes sneaky and quick. One day he was fixing a flower bed when Mr. Jenkins walked by. "It's just grass, Sam," Mr. Jenkins called out, not even stopping. "Why hog it all?" Sam didn't answer. He just kept digging, his shovel biting into the dirt, but inside his heart hurt. Hog it. This wasn't about grass. It was about his home, his quiet place, the one spot where he could be himself. The next week, things got worse. Sam found a letter in his mailbox, a fancy one with the HOA's logo on it. He opened it, his hands shaking a little. The words were big and official, but the message was clear. The HOA was claiming his backyard as a community space. They said it was too big for one person, that it should be open for everyone. There were words like easement and regulation. But to Sam, it all meant one thing: they wanted to take what was his. Sam sat on his porch, the letter in his lap. He looked out at his pond, where a frog sat on a lily pad, staring back at him. He thought about all the hours he'd spent making this place his own. He'd planted every flower, dug the pond himself, carried buckets of dirt until his arms ached. He'd saved money for years to buy this house, skipped buying new clothes or going on trips just to afford it. And now, because Karen said so, it was supposed to be everyone's. It didn't make sense. It wasn't fair. But Karen wasn't done. A few days later, she came back, this time with a man in a yellow vest and a measuring tape. "This is Bob," Karen said, waving at the man like he was her best friend. "He's a surveyor. We're planning a path through your yard, Samuel, for the neighbors." Bob didn't look at Sam. He just started stretching his tape across the grass, sticking little flags in the ground. Sam watched from his porch, his arms crossed. He didn't say a word, but his eyes were sharp, like he was memorizing every move. Karen stood by the pond, pointing and talking loud enough for Sam to hear. "The path will go right here," she said. "Maybe a bench over there. It'll be so nice for everyone." She didn't ask Sam if it was okay. She didn't need to, she thought. To her, Sam was just a quiet guy who'd do what he was told. She thought he was weak because he didn't yell or argue. She thought she could push him around, make him give up his land without a fight. But Karen didn't know Sam, not really. See, Sam wasn't like most people. He didn't get loud when he was mad. He didn't stomp his feet or shout at meetings. But that didn't mean he was giving up. Oh no, Sam was thinking, planning, watching everything. Every word Karen said, every flag Bob stuck in the ground, every whisper from the neighbors, it all went into Sam's brain like pieces of a puzzle. He wasn't going to let Karen win. Not today, not ever. The neighbors didn't see it, but Sam was different. They thought he was stubborn, maybe even weird, for wanting to keep his yard private. "Why's he so grumpy?" they'd say. "It's just a yard." But to Sam, it wasn't just a yard. It was his dream, his safe place, his home. And when someone tried to take your home, you didn't just sit there. You did something about it. Karen kept pushing. She held a big meeting at the community center where she stood at a microphone and talked about Sam's land. "It's time to share," she said, her voice booming. "Sunny Meadows deserves a park and Sam's yard is perfect." The crowd clapped, some louder than others. Mr. Jenkins was in the front row, nodding like his head was on a spring. A few neighbors looked uncomfortable, but they didn't say anything. Karen's clipboard was like a magic wand. She waved it, and people listened. Sam didn't go to the meeting. He stayed home, sitting by his pond. He could hear the cheers from down the street, faint but clear. He knew what they were saying about him. Selfish, stubborn, weird. It stung like a bee you didn't see coming. But Sam didn't let it break him. He looked at his flowers, his water, his grass, and he made a promise to himself. This was his land, his home, and no matter what Karen did, he wasn't going to let her take it. Deep down, Sam was already fighting back, not with shouts or signs, but with something stronger, his brain. He knew things Karen didn't. He'd spent years learning about land, about rules, about how to protect what was yours. Karen thought she had all the power with her letters and her meetings, but Sam was like a quiet storm building up slow and steady. She didn't know who she was messing with, but she was about to find out. The tension in Sunny Meadows was growing, like a balloon getting too full of air. Karen was pushing harder, the neighbors were picking sides, and Sam was standing his ground, quiet but strong. Something big was coming. You could feel it, like the air before a rain. Sam wasn't going to roll over. He was going to fight for his home, and when he did, it would be a surprise nobody saw coming. Days turned into weeks, and things got tougher for Sam Carter in Sunny Meadows. The Homeowners Association, or HOA, wasn't backing down. They kept sending letters to Sam's house, big envelopes with shiny seals that looked important. Inside were papers filled with fancy words like easement and community access. Sam didn't know all those words at first, but he could tell what they meant. The HOA wanted his backyard, and they weren't asking nicely. They wanted to turn his quiet garden and sparkly pond into a place for everyone, like a park where kids could run and neighbors could picnic. The letters said it was for the good of the neighborhood, but to Sam, it felt like styling. The HOA didn't stop with letters. They held meetings at the community center, and Karen Billings, the HOA president, was the star of the show. She'd stand at a tall podium, waving her arms like she was leading a parade. "Sam's land is perfect for a neighborhood park," she'd say, her voice loud and sure. "It's too big for one person. We should all share it." The crowd would clap and cheer, nodding like Karen was the smartest person ever. They didn't seem to care that the land wasn't theirs to take. They just listened to Karen, who acted like a queen with her clipboard and her shiny high heels. Sam heard about the meetings, even though he didn't go. Neighbors talked about them when he was mowing his lawn or watering his flowers. "Karen's got big plans," they'd say, glancing at his yard. "A park would be so nice." Sam would just nod, keeping his face calm, but inside, his heart was racing. He loved his backyard. It wasn't just grass and dirt, it was his special place, where he could sit by the pond and watch fish swim or smell his roses and feel happy. The idea of strangers walking all over it made his stomach hurt. But Sam wasn't sitting still. Oh no, he was busy. Every night after the sun went down, he'd sit at his kitchen table under a bright light. The table was covered with papers, not just any papers, but maps, drawings, and lists. Sam would sketch plans with a pencil, his hand moving fast, making lines and shapes. Sometimes he'd pick up his phone and call someone, talking in a low voice. "Can you check this for me?" he'd say, or "Is that allowed?" He'd nod to himself, muttering, "They'll see soon enough." If anyone had peeked through his window, they'd have been surprised. Sam's kitchen looked like a secret hideout, with stacks of books about land rules and folders full of permits. It was like he was planning something big. See, Sam wasn't just a guy who liked flowers. A long time ago, before he moved to Sunny Meadows, he'd worked as a civil engineer. That's a fancy way of saying he built things, big things like bridges and dams. He knew how to make stuff strong and safe. He also knew how to read rules and laws, the kind that say what you can do with your land. Karen thought Sam was just a quiet gardener, someone she could boss around. But Sam was way more than that. He was smart, and he was ready to protect what was his. While Sam was planning, Karen got pushier. One morning, she showed up at Sam's house with a man in a bright orange vest. The man carried a long measuring tape and a bag of little flags. "This is Bob," Karen said, her voice all cheery. "He's a surveyor. We're planning a walking path through your yard, Samuel." She smirked as she said it, like she'd already won. Bob didn't look at Sam. He just started stretching his tape across the grass, sticking flags in the dirt near Sam's pond. Sam stood on his porch, arms crossed, watching every move. He didn't say a word, but his eyes were sharp, like a hawk watching a mouse. Karen walked around, pointing at things. "The path will go here," she said loudly so Sam could hear. "Maybe a picnic spot there. It'll be so nice." She didn't ask Sam if it was okay. To her, it was already decided. Sam just kept watching, his face still, but inside he was taking notes. Every flag, every word, it all went into his brain like pieces of a game he was playing. A few days later, things got even worse. Mr. Jenkins, the nosy neighbor from across the street, decided to join in. One afternoon, he and two of his buddies walked right into Sam's backyard, like it was a public park already. They didn't knock or ask. They just strolled through, their big shoes stepping on Sam's flowers. Petals fell to the ground, crushed and sad. "Just testing the space," Mr. Jenkins called out, laughing like it was a joke. "Gotta see how it feels for the park." His friends laughed too, kicking at the grass as they walked to the pond. Sam was by his garden when it happened. He looked up, saw the broken flowers, and felt his hands tighten into fists. He wanted to yell, to tell them to get out, but he didn't. He took a deep breath and stayed quiet. He watched them leave, their laughter echoing. Then he knelt down, picking up the crushed petals gently like they were his friends. He didn't chase Mr. Jenkins off, but his eyes followed every step, every smirk. Sam wasn't forgetting a single thing. The neighbors started to whisper more. They'd see Sam working in his yard and talk behind their hands. "He's too quiet," they'd say. "Doesn't he know Karen always wins?" Some thought Sam was giving up because he didn't fight back. Others called him stubborn, saying he was selfish for keeping his land. "It's just a yard," they'd mutter. "Why's he making a fuss?" But Sam wasn't making a fuss. He was making a plan, and it was growing bigger every day. Each letter from the HOA, each flag in his yard, each crushed flower, it all made Sam more determined. He wasn't just fighting for his garden or his pond. He was fighting for something bigger, his right to be left alone, to live the way he wanted. Karen thought she could scare him, that her rules and her clipboard would make him give in. But Sam was like a chess player, thinking 3 moves ahead. Nobody saw the pieces he was moving, but they were there, waiting for the right moment. One night, as Sam sat at his table, he found something important. It was a paper in one of his books, a rule about land and what owners could do. His eyes lit up and he smiled.